Every day, excessive delays and denials from big insurers keep patients from accessing the care they need. And when care is urgent, these delays can be disastrous. These practices cost billions in wasteful spending, driving up costs for American families. But while big insurers put up barriers, America's hospitals and health systems are in your corner, navigating endless reviews and appeals to get you the care you need when you need it most. It's time to curb these harmful practices and put the focus back on patients. Brought to you by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Healthcare.
The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
All right, I know I've said this like a bajillion times at this point, but I'll say it again. One of the benefits of Trump is our president. One of the big benefits is he's willing to do things and say things that other presidents were unwilling or too scared to do. That could be a huge benefit. But there are also times, because Trump is Trump and he is willing to do things, that it's not a benefit. One of the downfalls of Trump is also that he is willing to do and say things that maybe other presidents weren't willing to do. There are times where this is great, and there are times where it's not so great, as the case where he basically said he is glad Robert Mueller is dead. I totally get why he doesn't like Robert Mueller and everything that happened to Trump. But you are the president of the United States. But I always go back to this. Trump is the conservative movement's, the Republican Party's Ulysses S. Grant. So many complaints during the Civil War about Grant because of his personal problems, and Lincoln would just respond, yeah, but he fights. And that's where we are with Trump. Anytime you criticize any of this stuff, usually it's his mouth that gets him into trouble. We all know this. The response usually is, yeah, but he fights, and the radical left is crazy, so we needed a fighter. And I get that. I really do. We got to talk about the latest in Iran and much more. You are listening to the Yaffee Program. This is the show where you can count all the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. Here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Coming up on the show, we'll get to the latest in Iran, as I mentioned. We'll also have the headlines throughout the state of Alabama with the bullet points. At the bottom of the hour, we'll speak Alabama politics with Todd Stacy. Then we'll do the Sunday news shows recap. That's right, recap what happened on those Sunday news talk shows, so you don't have to watch it. I give you Sundays off. You're welcome. And it's not taxpayer funded. So it's a free service to you as well. Well, what can I say? So we do that. And Austin is here as well producing. He's going to do What's Trending later on. Austin, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Yaffee. I'm having a pleasant Monday.
Even though apparently your yard is out of control. You haven't mowed it in weeks.
It is intentionally out of control. I'm growing flowers, not weeds.
I do like that. I'm gonna use that because I get weeds too. I'm gonna use that with my HOA. When they're like, you got to cut this. I'm like, no, they're flowers. Look at them.
We'll see if it works because the reviews are not great so far, but we'll see.
Yeah, that was Austin's hate during the Dale show. By the way, I'll end the show as well with the Yaffee Program Rewind. And we always take your text messages at the Yaffee text line, of course, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. That's brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. All right, so this is what Trump said when it comes to Iran. He posted that, let me read the whole thing here. He posted that he's going to pause bombing their energy infrastructure, I guess, for 5 days. He said, I'm pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue. Oh, he spelled which wrong. This tells me there was nobody proofreading this. He spelled which, W-I-T-C-H. That which will. Come on. Anyway, that's a nitpick, I know. Which will continue throughout the week. I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period. subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That's what he said. So there's some talk that maybe Trump is chickening out. I don't know how you can say that about Trump anymore. After Venezuela and now attacking Iran, this idea that Trump always chickens out, obviously it's not true. He is not always chickened out. But he probably is exaggerating. My main question is, he says the talks are going well. With who? Who is he talking to? I really have no idea. I'm told that the Ayatollah was there. I'm also told he's he's barely alive. They've had to use cardboard cutouts for him at meetings. So I'm like, are they going good? Are they going good with some and not others? Who's talking to who? So I really want an answer to that question. Maybe Trump will answer that more. Now, I could be critical of this because it seems like anytime you try to do a deal like this with Iran, it never really works. But I said the same thing about Hamas, and somehow Trump was able to negotiate a deal, a ceasefire, and get all the hostages back from Gaza. There was a time I thought that was impossible. Trump got it done. So there's a part of me that's like, okay, maybe I will try to give Trump the benefit of the doubt here. Now, this has not stopped those in the propaganda press and the Democrat Party from saying this war is a complete failure. It's a complete disaster. We're still not even a month in this thing. And we're acting like it's really scary because if we ever get into a full-blown conflict with, say, China or something, are we going to be ready? Are we going to expect that to just end in 3 weeks? That being said, there is pressure on him. But I did want to play these cuts real quick from Victor Davis Hanson, who is a historian also at the Hoover Institute, and he was on Fox News recently. And he was asked about the state of the war, and I think he's a good voice of reason on this, if you really want to know where we are in this war against Iran. So go ahead if you can, Austin. Play a Victor Hanson cut 1 for me.
You know, we don't have people on the ground to tell us what's really happening in Iran except, captive news people like CNN that are there only with the permission of the theocracy. But there's enough evidence to see how things are really going. Europeans would never agree to go anywhere near Iran unless they thought the tide was turning and they think that we're going to win. Otherwise, they would keep still. And the reason that the petronations of the Gulf survive is they have their finger in the wind and they're very attuned to the climate. And when you have Al Jazeera praising the United States bombing campaign and saying that it's been underestimated and it's brilliant and effective, you get the feeling that they think not only should the United States finish the job, but it can and will finish the job. And then when you start to see tactical aircraft like Warthogs and Apaches, that means that they're offering almost ground and sea support to hit targets. There's nothing, there's no defense at all when you have that type of aircraft flying at will in Iranian airspace. So you put it all together, and I think it's pretty clear that this rope-a-dope strategy that they have, that we're going to tire before they are, is dependent on just public opinion, the midterms in the United States. And if Trump sees it through, and I think he will, I think they're going to fall pretty soon, in 2, 3, 4 weeks. And I think they know it, and I think the Europeans know it, and I think the Middle East knows it, and their only hope, the Iranians' only hope, is that somebody will call Donald Trump off before the job is finished.
Now, I mentioned at the beginning that Trump is willing to do things that other presidents aren't willing to do. So maybe he is willing to see it through despite some of the setbacks. And I say setbacks. It's been less than a month. So seeing it through does not mean a years on end conflict. Now, Victor Davis Hanson here also responded to some of the criticism of the war from the left and the propaganda press. Go and play cut 2 of him for me.
I think his philosophy is we're not going to put people in a Fallujah-like context where they're going door to door against jihadists that know the terrain and the environment. We're not going to do that. We're going to play to our strength, which is intelligence, technology, firepower, and we're going to do it in a new way with enhanced drones and satellite reconnaissance, so we know the individual names of individual commanders. That's new. But, he reminds me a lot. In 1939, Churchill had warned everybody about the threat of fascism on the continent, Nazis, Italians, and Japanese, and nobody listened to him. And then after the war broke out, nobody called on him, and then finally he came in. And from May 10th of 1940, he was saying to everybody, these people want to take over the whole continent. And we weren't in. The Russians were on the side of the Germans at that time under the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, and he was the voice in the wilderness. And that's what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to say to the American Democratic Party, what's left of it, you don't understand what's going on here. You Europeans don't understand. You people in the Middle East don't fully understand what this regime is about.
So I would argue, though, that the Democrats fully understand. They just don't care. That they will do whatever is against the Trump agenda at all costs. Kind of like John Fetterman said that the Democrat Party right now is run by Trump derangement syndrome. And that's definitely a part of this. Go and play cut 3 because he also responds to the idea of an imminent threat. Play cut 3 of him for me.
And when people say, well, we didn't have an imminent threat, we didn't have an imminent threat when they took our hostages, when they blew up our barracks. Nobody said we better attack Iran because we need an imminent threat when they blew up our embassy. They always acted spontaneously with surprises, and we never knew what they were going to do. So the idea you have to have a telegraphed imminent threat, it's not the nature of that regime. It's lying, disguise, and dissimulation, and that's their pattern for the last 47 years. But nobody's taken them serious. Every president said we're going to deal with this, all 7 of them, and all 7 of them did not. And then all 7 of them, when they got out of office, said, I regret that I didn't.
So Trump has the strategy right now. He thinks they're close to a deal, but we have heard this before. We heard it before the conflict. So I'm a little skeptical, but I was very skeptical we would ever get all the hostages returned in Gaza. And Trump got that done. So it's hard for me not to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit on this. But I'm curious what you think. You can weigh in. We have our Yaffee text line, of course, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. That is brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. Go to Regenesis Stem Cell Center if you don't want to let injuries or pain slow you down any longer. They're FDA compliant. They use only your fresh, live, concentrated bone marrow cells and blood platelets. They offer the gold standard stem cell therapy, universally agreed upon as injections with the stem cells of your own body's adult stem cells into an area needing intense healing, and it works. And I know it works because it worked for me on my back. I dealt with serious back issues for a long time. I thought I was eventually going to have to get invasive surgery, and then Dr. Charles Lee changed my life. He can do that for you as well. RegenesisStemCell.com is the website, or give them a call, 256-715-8193. It's 256-715-8193. Talk with Dr. Charles Lee today at Regenesis Stem Cell Center. And when you do, let them know Yaffee sent you. All right, we got the Alabama bullet points coming up next here on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
It's the on WVNN.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program. You know who I am. You know how the show works. What can I say? By the way, if you miss any of the show live, the podcast is up on the website, anywhere podcasts are available. Somebody texted in. You can always text in on our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN, brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. One person said, love him or hate him, Mr. Trump is solving a problem that has grown continuously since 1979. And I tend to agree with that. I mean, exactly right there. We'll talk more about this with Todd Stacy at the bottom of the hour. He's with Alabama Daily News. But right now, let's get to the headlines once again. We have those Alabama bullet points.
Alabama bullet points. Today's headlines from around the Yellowhammer State.
Sponsored by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Number 4 today, Susan DuBose has a bill in the Alabama legislature that would block abortion-aligned groups from Alabama sex ed classrooms. So State Representative Susan DuBose out of Hoover has introduced SB 209 in the Alabama legislature to prohibit abortion providers and organizations that support or align with abortion, such as Planned Parenthood, from conducting or participating in sex education programs in public schools. Now, the bill aims to protect students from what she describes as inappropriate content by barring such groups from teaching in classrooms. Instead, it encourages partnerships with faith-based organizations and presenters, including nurses, to deliver age-appropriate lessons on topics like sexting, online porn, and bullying. It also promotes incorporating a success sequence framework, emphasizing graduating school, getting married, then having children, which I like this. Number 3, U.S. Navy Secretary and the Alabama congressional delegation cut a ribbon last week on a $2.4 billion submarine factory in Cherokee. So this was done on Friday. U.S. Secretary of the Navy joined Alabama's congressional delegation. Katie Britt was there, Tommy Tuberville was there, Darrell Strong, Robert Adderhold, to all the main people. In cutting the ribbon on a major new $2.4 billion advanced manufacturing facility known as Factory 4 in Cherokee, Alabama, at the Barton Riverfront Industrial Park. Now, the 2.2 million square foot factory of the future is what they're calling it, developed through a public-private partnership between the company Hadrian and the U.S. Navy, combines $1.5 billion in private capital with $900 million in federal funding via the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The highly automated AI-powered plant will mass-produce critical components for submarines, which is awesome. Number 2 today, Congressman Barry Moore, who is also a candidate for the U.S. Senate, said, "I hope we don't get boots on the ground," but did mention that maybe Israel will deploy troops as Iran war hits week 4. So amid speculation that President Donald Trump may escalate Operation Epic Fury by deploying U.S. ground troops, Barry Moore, speaking at a campaign event, as I mentioned, he's running for the U.S. Senate. He was before the Etowah County Republican Club, expressed strong opposition to American boots on the ground, stating, "If we don't get boots on the ground, I think Israel may put some boots on the ground if necessary." Now, he conveyed optimism from briefings that the war is progressing well, while stressing the strategic importance of keeping the Strait of Hormuz open for oil shipments, warning that disruptions such as tanker sinkings or other disruptions there could halt U.S. energy supplies for up to 6 months, given the region's role in 80% of U.S. oil. So there you go. Very interesting. All right, number 1 today, Senator Katie Britt has voiced strong support for what's called the Shutdown Paychecks to Politicians Act. So this is a bill that was put forward by Senator John Kennedy out of Louisiana. It's called the No Shutdown Paychecks for Politicians Act, arguing that if Congress cannot fill its basic duty of ensuring hardworking Americans, such as essential federal workers, that they receive their pay during a potential government shutdown, then lawmakers themselves have no business collecting their own congressional salaries. In a direct call to action, she demanded an immediate vote on the bill, framing it as a straightforward matter of accountability and fairness between elected officials and the public they serve. She said, quote, "This is simple. If Congress can't do our job to ensure hardworking Americans get paid, then there's no reason members of Congress should get a paycheck." Now, this is one of those issues where obviously it sounds great. I mean, it's an easy political win. If there are federal workers aren't getting paid, people are like, well, Congress shouldn't get paid then. So, I mean, I have no problem with the bill. I don't think it really matters all that much, and this is why. Unfortunately, most people in Congress are very, very rich. So they're not really doing this for, for the paycheck, so to speak. Like Katie Britt is pretty wealthy. Her and her husband are very wealthy. If you take away her paycheck, it doesn't really affect her that much. Put it that way. So there are a lot of people that you can use it to sort of virtue signal, but does it really affect their lives at the end of the day? Not really. Not really. Now, there are some members of Congress that it might. I mean, there are 400 and some members, obviously, in the House, and then, 100 senators. So there are some that it might, but it's one of those things that you can't help but support it. It makes a good point, but is it going to make a big difference at the end of the day? Probably not, because we know they're independently wealthy to begin with. But maybe you disagree. Tell me. We have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. By the way, the bullet points once again brought to you by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Go to the Madison location. So if you're driving off 565, you just take exit 3. You see the big rusty water tower there. You all know what that looks like. You all know then that right next door is Larry's 18,000 square foot facility. You might also see that the parking lot is full because it's just popular. That's because they treat their customers like family. They have so many repeat customers when it comes to things like ammunition. A lot of times you go to the range, you run out of ammunition, you want to buy more, and they're like, oh, we don't have any. We're out of stock. But not at Larry's. They make sure to stock up, a lot when it comes to ammunition. So you can get that. You can buy jewelry there, all kinds of things, or pawn or sell anything of value as well at Larry's Pistol and Pawn in Madison off Greenbrier X3 by the big rusty water tower. Go to the Huntsville location off Memorial Parkway as well, or go to the website pistolandpawn.com. And when you do, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. We'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
Every day, excessive delays and denials from big insurers keep patients from accessing the care they need. And when care is urgent, these delays can be disastrous. These practices cost billions in wasteful spending, driving up costs for American families. But while big insurers put up barriers, America's hospitals and health systems are in your corner, navigating endless reviews and appeals to get you the care you need when you need it most. It's time to curb these harmful practices and put the focus back on patients. Brought to you by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Healthcare.
Hey football fans, Steeler legend Jerome Bettis here. When I think about football in Pittsburgh, I think about tradition, hard work, and moments that last forever. It's a place where the love of the game brings people together. And for the first time ever, the NFL Draft comes to the Steel City. Be there for 3 days of football, and the moment draft dreams are realized. The 2026 NFL Draft, presented by Bud Light, April 23rd to the 25th. Register for free entry at NFL.com/draft access.
We're back on the Yaffee program. This is Alabama's Revolution in Common Sense on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Let's get into some state politics right now with Todd Stacy. He is host of Alabama Public Television's Capital Journal, also with Alabama Daily News, which you can read at aldailynews.com. Sign up for their daily digest email newsletter as well. Todd, how are you this morning? Todd, are you there?
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm okay. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Are you taking it a little bit easy this week? Because I believe the legislature's on spring break.
That's right. I mean, they're on spring break. Doesn't exactly mean we get one, but the one big difference it makes for us is we won't have nightly shows this week. You know, during the legislative session, we're on the air nightly at 10:30 after the local news, for Capital Journal to recap that day in the Alabama legislature. Well, when they're not there, there's not much point of doing that. And so we do get a little break in that, which is very nice. I think most people are in agreement that the spring break week came at the right time because everybody's pretty exhausted and they've got a pretty big couple of weeks coming up. So they're going to need, it doesn't help going into weeks with all kinds of big issues coming up if everybody's tired and ornery and just kind of grouchy. So I think they were right to take a break and they'll come back rested and ready.
Well, I understand that at the end of the week last week for the session, some people were grouchy, especially Democrats. They were threatening to blow things up a little bit, right?
Well, they did. I mean, they pretty much wasted a day in the Senate. You had what was kind of billed as cloture day, like they were going to put up some red meat bills. You had the Gulf of America bill. You also had a 10 Commandments in classrooms bill. Like these are obviously Republican kind of messaging bills, things that their base really cares about. And in an election year, those kind of things happen. But obviously Democrats weren't going to support those things. And they filibustered and did their thing as you would expect them to do. But apparently there were some absences in the Senate that day, and so they did not have the votes to cloture, meaning, shut off debate. So with that being the case, they pretty much had to just call it a day, and did not, they carried those bills over. That means they can come back at any time. But this late in the session, you don't want to be wasting a day, especially with so many bills left remaining. So that just goes to show you got to have the numbers. Even with these supermajorities in the House and Senate, you've got to have the numbers if you're going to want to push your agenda.
Well, and what was it that they were so upset about? Was it really just the nature of those bills? Or is there something else going on here?
Well, yeah, if you're a Democrat, you're not going to support renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America to in state law to go with President Donald Trump's renaming efforts. They're just not going to be for that. There's one thing, that they're going to use every tool at their disposal, and what they have is the filibuster under the Senate rules, and that's what they used, and so that means essentially that to shut them down, Republicans would have to invoke cloture. They didn't have the votes to invoke cloture on Thursday, so the choice was either move on to other stuff, non-controversial stuff, or let's just go home and call it a day. And they just decided to go home and call it a day.
Speaking with Todd Stacey, he's with Alabama Daily News. So what do you think is going to be the first thing that they really try to address when they get back after the break?
Well, those two bills will certainly, they meant to get them done last week, so maybe they'll try it again in the Senate. But it's time for the kind of the crossing of the chambers when it comes to the budgets. The education budget started in the House this year. It passed easily. Now it goes to the Senate. So it's their turn to start taking that up. And I expect that to be in committee next week. Same thing for the general fund. It started in the Senate this year, passed, and now goes to the House. So they will, kind of cross each other in the hallways. And so that's going to be a big deal. I expect both budgets to be done next week. So they'll come in on Tuesday, probably have committee meetings that day. Go ahead and pass them on the floor the following day, and you could have budgets signed into law by the time Thursday comes around. Sometimes that doesn't happen, though. Sometimes, obviously the bills go over to the governor. They originated with the governor and have changed very little. There are some things that she may have a problem with, but she can always send over an executive amendment, meaning it's technically a veto. You veto the budget and send back an amendment that you need or want and see what the legislature does with it. I kind of doubt that will happen this year with the budgets, but it could happen on some bills. So that's a big deal for that's the biggest thing the legislature does. I think the budget's getting done in a pretty non-controversial way is a big accomplishment in any year, but especially in an election year.
Yeah, it's true. I guess if you're going to have those distractions where they want to filibuster, you don't want that over the budget. You would prefer that over other issues. So that kind of makes sense. I want to move on to some national politics because I saw that Katie Britt, who was very instrumental in negotiating a deal to end the previous shutdown, she's obviously pretty frustrated by Democrats. They don't seem to be willing to talk at all when it comes to making a deal to end this Department of Homeland Security shutdown. She kind of pushed the idea that you put forward a bill where members of Congress don't get paid during government shutdowns, which obviously is going to be popular. Doesn't really make a big difference, but it'll be popular. But what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I know she's frustrated. She's been frustrated for weeks. We're, I think, in day 37 of this partial shutdown, meaning it's only the Department of Homeland Security. And because of how much funding was in the big, beautiful bill, that isn't even affecting immigration. It's not affecting ICE. They've got funding. What it's affecting is everybody else. Obviously, TSA, that's the most visible one, but also the Coast Guard. I mean, there are other agencies within DHS. And so you're seeing these long lines at airports. That's really coming to a head. And, yeah, she has been to the floor. She has expressed frustrations with Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, and really all Democrats for kind of refusing to negotiate. Well, the good news is those negotiations have finally started to happen. You know, her main complaint was they wouldn't even come to the table. That has happened. There have been meetings, including last night at the White House. There was a big meeting with essentially Senate Majority Leader John Thune taking to the president a compromise deal to get it all worked out and hopefully be voting on it this week. The bad news is Trump did not go for it. This is all according to Punchbowl News, which anybody that follows federal politics or wants to, Punchbowl is really great at covering the Hill. Great, very well sourced. And so, you know, it looked like they had a deal with Democrats to reopen DHS. I'm confident that Senator Britt was right in the middle of that. I've not talked to her about it, but I mean, if it's DHS appropriations, she's the chairman. I'm sure she was involved in that. And so, but apparently the White House, Trump himself, doesn't want that deal. He wants to fight. He wants the issue, and he wants to, kind of force the pain over DHS funding to help get leverage to pass the Save America Act. Those are two very different issues, and so I'm curious to talk to Senator Britt today in light of this latest development. It's pretty big news.
Yeah, especially when you talk about the Save America Act, because I just can't imagine. You want to give Democrats a reason to keep this going. That gives them a reason.
Right.
I don't see them caving on that at all. Which, you know, I agree with the bill. I want the bill to pass, but it's just no way they're going to agree to that.
Yeah, when I woke up, I mean, this was all reported this morning, and listened to the podcast, read the newsletter. I really couldn't believe it. First of all, they've been trying to get to a deal for more than a month. They finally get to one, and then it's the White House. It's Trump that says no. I mean, that's if I was the Republicans in the Senate, I would be very frustrated because you're right. Like Save America Act, you're not going to find something the Democrats oppose more than that. And you're right; it gives them more juice to keep fighting. You know, if that's on the table. So I don't think it's a very good tactic. You know, we've talked about this before, Yaffee. Sometimes the president doesn't get very good advice. You know, over the years, I'm sure he makes plenty of mistakes himself, but sometimes you can almost see like, oh man, that was somebody that really gave some bad advice. And having worked in politics for decades myself, like staff is very instrumental. This is a bad idea, and hopefully they'll come to understand that and figure if there's a deal to be had on DHS funding, they should make it and not involve the Save America Act, because you're right, that just gives Democrats all the more reason to keep fighting on both issues.
Yeah, and Republicans have had some good reasons to fight as well. I understand why they want to wear masks, the ICE agents. But then President Trump posts on Truth Social today that he wants ICE to not wear masks at the airports. So I'm thinking, doesn't that kind of undermine the whole argument there? So ICE, they're going to wear masks everywhere else, but at the airport they're not. I mean, I didn't understand that thinking either, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the mask thing is just a case-by-case basis. I mean, if you're going into a, criminal drug ring, some kind of dangerous situation, and where you could literally be not just doxxed, but your face be used to target your family and things like that. I mean, those are real concerns. Then, yeah, of course you should be masked. But in other situations, it really doesn't make sense. In fact, it can inflame the situation when, you come in looking like a paramilitary. So to me, it should be case by case, and they should have the flexibility to do that. But, again, is that the hill you want to die on? If there's a deal to be made, make the deal. Well, these lines are long at the airports. Alex Engel, our reporter, is flying back from Houston to Washington today, and is going to face about 2 hours worth of waiting in the TSA line. I mean, if Republicans want to help themselves out in the midterms, make a deal on TSA, open up the Department of Homeland Security, claim credit, and get this issue off the table.
Speaking with Todd Stacey's with Alabama Daily News, Alabama Public Television's Capitol Journal. You can always check out Capitol Journal on YouTube or live on public television or the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. Todd, I appreciate it. As always, I know we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Yaffee, be good.
You as well. If you want to react, we have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. Coming up next, we'll start the Sunday news show's recap. Of course, this is the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
The Yaffee program.
We're back here on the Yaffee program, News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Glad you've joined the show today. So I used to start this segment at the top of the next hour, but kind of moving things a little bit. Not that, whatever. You listen to the whole show anyway, right? Right. But you listen to the whole show, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get to it. The first segment now of the Sunday News Show's recap. Yes, recapping what was talked about on those Sunday news talk shows like Fox News Sunday, CNN State of the Union, NBC's Meet the Press, and others. So you don't have to watch it. I give you the highlights. I give you the analysis. I tell you what you need to know the next day because I give you Sundays off. So it's my public service to you. No taxpayer funds were used to fund this segment, and you're welcome. You're welcome. So I wanted to play this cut from Scott Besson of Meet the Press. And the reason why is he's asked about Trump's comments on Robert Mueller. So Robert Mueller, head of the Mueller report, former head of the FBI. Obviously, Trump doesn't like him. We holding the whole Russia stuff. But he died over the weekend. He had, it wasn't like he was murdered or anything. He had an illness and he was older. And Trump still posts on Truth Social that he's glad he's dead. I really wish Trump wouldn't do this. You all know this. You have to rise above this, especially if you're the leader of the free world. I understand why Trump doesn't like Mueller, but I can't just get behind the microphone and defend a very petty and bad and immoral comment just because, I voted for Trump, so I have to defend it. I'm not going to do that. But Scott Besson, who is Trump's Treasury Secretary, was asked about this. So, Austin, go ahead and play the Scott Besson cut I sent you.
Kristen, I was with the president in the green room at Davos, and there was a video playing of the what may have been an illegal raid on his home at Mar-a-Lago. They are going through his wife's wardrobe, and I watched the look in his eye, and I think that neither one of us can understand what has been done to the president and to his family.
But to the question of the president's post, Robert Mueller didn't order that raid. Is it appropriate for the president to celebrate the death of any American citizen,
again,
Mr. Secretary?
I think that given what has been done to President Trump and his family, it is impossible for either of us to understand what he has been through.
So just say it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. I understand that he's a part of the administration. I even understand his argument there. But it's just not appropriate. Okay? I can't defend it. But then you have the other side of this as well, where Hakeem Jeffries is the House Minority Leader. And he was also asked about this, and his response is a little beyond reason as well. So there's always the over response. So, Austin, go ahead. Can you skip down to cut 4 of Hakeem Jeffries? Play cut 4 of Hakeem Jeffries for me.
I want to ask you before I let you go about something the president just put on Truth Social this morning. He said, now with the death of Iran, the greatest enemy America has is the radical left, highly incompetent Democratic Party. Your response?
Donald Trump should keep his reckless mouth shut before he gets somebody killed.
I'm sorry, but who's been killed in recent years when it came to political violence? Charlie Kirk, a Trump supporter. Trump himself almost assassinated a couple of different times. Other examples as well. So it's hard for me to hear Hakeem Jeffries on his high horse about this kind of stuff and say Trump's going to be the one who gets someone killed when all the violence has been directed at Trump and Trump supporters, at least the vast majority of it. So, unfortunately, I wish we didn't have this kind of rhetoric. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, unfortunately. By the way, the other big news today is that ICE agents are going to be at airports helping TSA. So Tom Homan is in charge of that. He was on the Sunday News Talk Show, so we'll get to that and much more next year on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN. The Yaffee program on WVNN.
So I actually think President Trump is pretty smart by deploying ICE agents to airports to help out because they're already getting paid. So they can help in some ways. Obviously, it's trolling the Democrats a little bit. But really, it can show the American people that, which they should already know, there's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to ICE agents. Now, Trump had said, he goes, I want to thank ICE because they stepped in so strongly. They'll do great. And if that's not enough, I'll bring in the National Guard. We're not going to have Democrats destroy our country. So it's good. I mean, he's acting quickly, which I think is a good thing. And it shows, it really puts the onus on Democrats to actually fund things. But he also said this, which I really do think, maybe you think I'm wrong. I really do think this undermines his complete argument because he says he doesn't want these ICE agents to wear masks. He said, ICE has done very well. I'm a big believer that they should be able to wear masks when they go and hunt down murderers, criminals, and others. But for purposes of the airport, I've requested that they take off the masks, and I believe they are willing to do that. Here's the problem. There are going to be leftists at the airports who take pictures of these ICE agents, even if they're not doing anything, even if they're just, standing there. They're going to take pictures. They're going to want to try to dox them. And it's going to be on social media, and they'll be harassed. That's the problem. It's not even just the dangerous criminals that you have to worry about when it's doxing ICE agents. Unfortunately, it's radical leftists who do things like cause problems in Minneapolis that want to cause problems everywhere else. I hate to say that. I wish it weren't true in the United States of America in 2026. But unfortunately, because the base of the Democrat Party has gone nuts, it is true. So we'll talk about that and more. You are listening to the Yaffee program. We talk faith, culture, and politics Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. here on News Talk 770 a.m., 92.5 FM, WVNN. Also, it's Monday, so let's continue. We have more of the Sunday News Show's recap. Recapping what was talked about, what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. So you don't have to worry about it. In fact, I'm pretty sure Dale Jackson watches Hallmark movies, instead, which is fine. Whatever you want to do. I mean, you do you. You really should go to church. I have a friend who watches reruns of Gunsmoke for some reason Sunday mornings. Whatever you want to do, I give you Sundays off. I get the highlights for you from the interviews, everything else, and then I recap it for you today. And it's free to you. What can I say? What else can I do for you? And I'm talking about shows like Fox News Sunday, Meet the Press, and others. And one of those shows is CNN's State of the Union. And I saw that Tom Homan, who is Trump's border czar, doing a really good job. Trump has now put him in charge of ICE going to airports. So he was on CNN's State of the Union with Dana Bash, and he was talking about, one, trying to make a deal to end this partial government shutdown. And then later on, they talk about helping TSA agents at airports. So go ahead if you can, Austin, play Tom Homan cut 1 for me.
What exactly is the White House offering Democrats right now on potential new policy changes for ICE and CPB to end this impasse?
I don't think it's really significant policy changes. I mean, I'm invited there just to explain operations and how we conduct business within ICE and CBP. But I truly believe this isn't really a policy issue. I mean, we have the same policies in place we had during Obama and Biden and Clinton and Bush 1 and Bush 2. So the policies really hasn't changed. It's the execution of those policies that we're talking about. And look, we're having good conversations, but more conversations need to be had because we certainly can't surrender ICE's authorities and their congressionally mandated job. So we're having those discussions. It's really about policy execution more than policy.
No, it brings up a good point there, at least I think. These policies have been in place forever. It's just President Trump actually decided to enforce the law. And what Democrats, he's giving Democrats more of the benefit of the doubt than I am. It really didn't matter what Republicans did here. They came to the negotiating table, at least in the beginning, making demands they knew Republicans were going to say no to. They knew Republicans weren't going to agree to this. They knew this would cause a government shutdown. They knew it would create pain at the airports, and that was on purpose. So go ahead and play a Tom Homan cut 2 for me.
Well, but as you know, they want it to be codified, things like agents wearing masks, the ability or the requirement to say who they are, and things of that nature. So you're saying that the White House is not open to changing any of that?
No. I'm saying a majority of it's about policy execution. We're talking about, as you see on the letter that was out the other night, we're talking about identification, badge number, name, either or, because Border Patrol has the name on their uniform. ICE doesn't have a name on uniforms. We're talking about clear identification. We're talking about, access to detention and things like that. So, a lot of these things, as I explained to the senators, a lot of these things are already in play. And, identification has been ever since Minneapolis. And I'm trying to explain that the situation on the ground isn't the same as it was in Minneapolis. We're doing target enforcement operations, and the detention standards are the same they were in the last administration, but there was a problem with access to detention standards that problem doesn't exist anymore. So a lot of the changes after Minneapolis has already been implemented, and that's what I'm there to explain to him.
He comes off as very reasonable to me. And he's right. And this is a point I've been making for weeks now. Republicans and Trump have already made concessions with the Democrats on this, and yet they still shut things down. That's why I'm so skeptical of it. Now, Trump is throwing a wrench in it today because now he's demanding they pass the SAVE Act. So that's a poor strategy. The Democrats are never going to agree to that. And I think they should. I just don't think they will. I'm going to play Tom Homan cut 3 for me.
You, sir, are going to be in charge. How is that going to work? Are ICE agents going to move into American airports starting tomorrow, Monday?
Yes. And I'm currently working on the plan now of execution, working with the director of ICE and the administrator at TSA, the acting administrator. So we'll put together a plan today, and we'll execute tomorrow.
All right, so it's supposed to be happening right now, and Trump's commented on it. And then he was also asked, how exactly this would work, which sounds pretty reasonable to me. And I'll play some of the reaction of some of the Democrat leaders on this, but go ahead and play cut 4 of Tom Homan.
Are ICE agents even remotely trained to handle security at airports?
ICE agents receive a high level of training. And, the ICE agents are assigned at many airports across the country already. They do a lot of criminal investigation on smuggling at airports. But, there's got TSA agents covering exits, people that enter through the exits. Certainly a highly trained ICE law enforcement officer can cover an exit, makes people don't go through those exits, entering the airport through the exits. And that stuff like that relieves that TSA officer to go to screening and to reduce those lines. So wherever we can provide extra security, I don't see an ICE agent looking at an X-ray machine because they're not trained in that. But there are certain parts of security that TSA is doing that we can move them off those jobs and put them in the specialized jobs, help move those lines.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. So what you're saying is when you move ICE into airports, they are going to be just around the exits?
All right, so like I said, sounds pretty reasonable. The National Guard could do the same thing, by the way, if he has to call the National Guard. Now, all of this is completely ridiculous. It shouldn't even be to this point. The idea that we are now going to use TSA agents as a political weapon against each party. Let's just privatize this and get it over with so we don't have to deal with this anymore because it's going to happen again. Go on and play cut 5 of Tom Homan for me.
A question that a lot of people are asking, is it just going to be crowd control, or will ICE officers also be doing immigration enforcement while they are at the airports?
We do immigration enforcement at airports all the time. So is that going to change? It's not going to change. This is about helping the men and women at TSA. They've lost several hundred employees. The lines are really slow because of the shutdown. This is about helping TSA do their mission and get the American public through that airport as quick as they can. While adhering to all the security guidelines and the protocols, we're simply there to help TSA do their job in areas that don't need their specialized expertise, such as screening through the X-ray machine. Not training that, we won't do that. But there are roles we can play to release TSA officers from the non-significant roles, such as guarding an exit, so they can get back to the scanning machines and move people quicker. And we're just simply helping our fellow officers at TSA.
All right, so, it sounds pretty reasonable to me. It is a shame that we are at this point. And when we get back, I'll play some of the Democratic response because that's also a shame as well. Really is. But I want to get your reaction. We have our Yaffee text line, as always, 866-494-9866. 866-494-WVNN. One person weighed in, said TSA should show a friendly face. No mask for ICE agents is appropriate. It would be better to not have ICE there at all if they were required to keep their masks on because it creates an intimidation factor that doesn't need to happen right now. So someone on the text line believes that it would be intimidating to see them in masks. I guess I'm just weird because I see an ICE agent, even if they're masks, and I'm not intimidated. Why? Because I'm an American citizen. What do they care about me? He's there to help. But, maybe those who are intimidated are illegal immigrants. But, with all the rhetoric right now, it's even beyond that. So you can weigh in on the text line, 866-494-9866. Right now, I got to tell you real quick about my good friends at Jay's Appliance Outlet. I keep telling you, so many people, they'll come to me, and they'll be like, thank you, Yaffee. And I'm like, well, you're welcome. What did I do? You told me about Jay's Appliance Outlet. I'm like, oh, nice. They're awesome, right? Yes, people go there if they need a new appliance, but they get it for a great deal, and they're not used to such good customer service like what you get there at Jay's Appliance Outlet. So they're located off Highway 72 in Athens. They have amazing deals for you when it comes to washers and dryers, scratch and dent deals as well. So I want you to check out their showroom or give them a call today. Dial pound 250 and say the keywords Jay's Appliance Outlet. Pound 250 Jay's Appliance Outlet. Go today, and when you do, let them know Yaffee sent you. More of the Sunday News Show's recap next on the Yaffee program.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
Sponsored by Matthews Law, your local family-owned and operated law firm in Limestone County.
From the Way TV newsroom, here's coverage you can count on.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Week 31's Chris Tatum. A teenager is recovering this morning.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program. Glad you have joined the show. The show really is. It's like a vaccine from radical leftism. You listen to me. You're inoculated. It's great. The one vaccine you definitely can trust is this show. By the way, let's do it one more segment here of the Sunday News Show's recap. Recapping what was talked about, what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. So you don't have to worry about watching them. My public service to you. You're welcome. Had someone weigh in on our Yaffee text line said Democrats need to be held responsible and accountable for shutting down part of our security apparatus during a time of increased terrorism. If they really cared about the American people more than they cared about hating Trump, this wouldn't even be a discussion. That was Aaron weighing in. Another person said this, though, said, I should be allowed to wear masks because the left-leaning public will continue to intimidate them, which is an interesting point. I understand that. Speaking about the left, Hakeem Jeffries, who's the Democrat leader in Congress, I just want you to remember, I played Tom Homan cuts in the last segment. He sounded very reasonable in all of this. And then you play Hakeem Jeffries here, and it's the opposite of reasonable. But go ahead and play Hakeem Jeffries cut one. He was on CNN State of the Union. Play cut one for me, Austin.
Well, good morning. Great to be with you. There are three things that have been true since Donald Trump and Republicans came back into power last January. Life is more expensive, life is more chaotic, and life is more extreme. The last thing that the American people need are for untrained ICE agents to be deployed at airports all across the country, potentially to brutalize or in some instances kill them. We've already seen how ICE conducts itself. These are untrained individuals when it comes to doing the current job that they have for the most part, let alone deploying them in close exposure in highly sensitive situations at airports across the country.
Oh, my gosh. Are we really going to play this game where they think ICE is going to start brutalizing American citizens, killing them in airports? I know I don't have to remind you listening, but I'll remind Hakeem Jeffries. Those who were killed in Minneapolis, they were killed because ICE agents feared for their lives and they acted in self-defense. Whether it's a good shoot or not, that's what happened. It is not the intention, which I shouldn't even have to say this. It was not the intention of ICE agents to kill anyone. They don't want to kill anybody. But the idea that we need to be afraid now because they're in airports. If I see an ICE agent somewhere, believe it or not, fear is not the first thing I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead and play Hakeem Jeffries cut 2 for me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Republicans have decided that they would rather force TSA agents to work without pay, inconvenience millions of Americans all across the country, and now potentially expose them to untrained ICE agents and create chaos at airports throughout the land rather than get ICE agents under control. Our basic premise and value proposition from the very beginning has been simple. ICE should conduct itself like every other law enforcement agency in the country. But if Republicans are unwilling to get to an agreement in that regard, the one thing we can do immediately are to make sure that TSA agents are paid. And we know, Dana, there's bipartisan support for that. Senator Ted Cruz and Senator John Kennedy have recently indicated that they would support moving in that direction. Let's bring those bills to the floor in the House and the Senate tomorrow.
So dumb. I just have to say, this whole idea that, Republicans, it's unfortunate what they're doing. Actually, as the bill was going through the appropriations process, both Democrats and Republicans agreed to it. It was at the very last minute that Democrats decided, no, we're going to use this. And we're going to use TSA agents as political weapons because of ICE and stuff. And then they made demands at the last minute without negotiating that they knew Republicans would not agree to. So they believe this helps them. They believe the pain that they are inflicting on the American people helps them in the midterms. That's why they're doing this. Go ahead and play cut 3 of Hakeem Jeffries for me.
Well, we never approach these things that are in front of us with respect to government funding in the context of leverage. Our approach is, what is the appropriate use of taxpayer dollars? And we believe that taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not brutalize or kill them or violently target law-abiding immigrant families, which is what we know ICE agents have been doing. And so at this point in time, more than 30 days in to the Trump Republican Department of Homeland Security shutdown, I think the most appropriate course of action is to fund TSA, fund FEMA, fund the Coast Guard, fund our cybersecurity professionals so that, Republicans stop holding the American people hostage and these hardworking civil servants because of the Republican unwillingness, at least to date, to get ICE under control. Listen, we believe that immigration enforcement in this country should be fair, just, and humane. And Donald Trump promised that he was going to go after the worst of the worst, violent felons who are here.
You can cut it
illegally.
off there,
That's
Austin.
not what.
I just had a comment on the beginning of that where he says, we never do these things thinking about leverage. He said that with a straight face. This is all about leverage. They want to use the shutdown as leverage to defund ICE. We don't think about leverage. Sure. All right, going to move on to what's trending coming up next here on the Yaffee program.
The Yaffee program.
We're back here on the Yaffee program. News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. I am Alabama's voice of reason, as you know, Huntsville's conservative conscience. Don't forget to like the Yaffee Facebook page or follow me on X at Yaffee or Instagram at Yaffee Live. Austin is here producing once again, so let's get right to it. We have What's Trending with Austin.
Keeping you up to date with all that's trending in your world.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
You guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
It's What's Trending.
Sponsored by Coleman Furniture Market. Yes, they always have the latest trending in furniture, and maybe you're like me. You have a growing family. You want to be more of an adult. That means you need some adult furniture, some better furniture for your house. Well, go to Coleman Furniture Market. They have the top brands like Lazy Boy, Bassett, Hooker, Rowe, Bradenton Young, and much more. Maybe you need a new mattress because you're like me and you're getting older and you don't want to wake up with back pain or something. You can get a Tempur-Pedic mattress there as well. So find out more at ColemanFurnitureMarket.com. You can see the latest stuff on their Facebook page and Instagram page, but really it's just good to go to the heart of Coleman, Alabama, see their gigantic showroom, and you'll find something you'll like. Coleman Furniture Market, go today. And when you do, let them know Yaffee sent you. All right, Austin, what's number 5 today?
Number 5 is going to be something I can't imagine you would have known about either, but BTS, the K-pop group, they reunited on the 21st, and there's going to be a whole Netflix documentary on the subject coming out the 27th. So this is a pretty big deal for that world, I guess. They haven't played in 7 years. I didn't know that, but...
Yeah, I mean, not a huge fan of that, but they're worldwide famous. So I guess I can understand that. So you're going to be there? You're going to be at the concert?
We are not the target demo. As I was looking into this, It's already happened, the 21st. So it's the documentary that kind of is like an inside look. Reality TV is coming out the 27th. So we are not part of the movement.
No, it's not on your Netflix wish list or anything? You're not going to...
I have not liked it, no. My wife likes one of the girl groups. So maybe that's, I don't know, maybe we'll watch it. Who knows?
Okay. Did you ever watch K-pop Demon Hunter? A big movie
I
on
did.
Netflix?
It was like my wife kind of liked its messaging. She was like, it was a little kind of, for modern movies, it was all right.
Actually, I tend to agree with that. So my wife was the same way, really wanted to watch it. I watched part of it with her. I was kind of busy doing other things, but from what I saw, it actually seemed pretty good. Like it really is safe for kids. You have to worry about that with everything. But with that, I was like, okay, I can understand I can understand why kids like it. All right, what's number 4?
Number 4 is going to be, I don't know if you have seen this, but a lot of high-protein foods are being advertised now. Have you?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I definitely noticed, yeah.
So I guess it was a sort of online health guru, Coach Kevin. I suppose he's kind of big in the late weightlifting community, sort of advised for these, and he got just blown up in the comments. A lot of people saying it's sort of just junk food with a bunch of protein. It's Doritos with a bunch of protein, heated up pizzas. Yeah. So a lot of hot debate over this. Seems like people were kind of against it more than 4.
It's funny, you go through these diet fads, and I think like protein was a fad before and then kind of went away and now it's come back. But that's always what happens. I mean, it starts with, okay, be healthier, eat more protein, and then all of the big corporations want all of their products to have protein. Or they just say, there might be a Dorito where nothing has changed, but they'd be like, hey, there's some proteins in Doritos. Well, let's promote that. It's like, it's still Doritos. It's still junk food.
I'm a little bit out of the loop, but you're right. I guess diet fads or what that kind of, it feels very 90s, very 2000s. But yeah, you are right. I guess that is kind of what's happening.
I mean, the best one from our generation would be, I guess you're younger than me, but it would be Atkins. I don't know if you remember the Atkins diet.
Was that the one where they ate the rice crackers?
No,
different
I don't know which one that was. Atkins, where it was similar to the protein, where you basically just ate meat. You cut out carbs. It was what really started cutting out the carbs. So people would eat a pound of bacon, and they're
okay.
I'm
So
on a
we
diet.
actually have gone full circle because that's just kind of keto.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically what it is. So, but I have noticed as well, coffee. Like you go to coffee places, and now you can add protein. Like if you get cold foam in your coffee, you can get protein in your cold foam or something, which is very strange to think about. All right, what is number 3?
Number 3 is the OnlyFans founder, Leonid Radvinsky, has died at 43 after a battle with cancer. Obviously not a great website, at least, I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think it's great, but big influence. I mean, kind of crazy.
I had no idea that name. I've never heard that name before until you said it. So, I mean, I've heard of OnlyFans, but I had
okay,
no
gotcha.
idea.
I thought you said you'd never heard of the website, and I was like, yeah,
no,
surely.
I definitely. I know. I seem out of touch, but no, yes, I've heard of the website. Never been to it, obviously, but heard of it. Dale likes to joke that I have an account, an OnlyFans account. Nobody wants. No. Why would I do that? Nobody wants to see an account of me.
Now, I was second guessing. I thought whether you were posting or not. He's saying you were, okay, you have an account. I follow now.
No. He was saying I was posting.
Yes.
That
That
I'm in the Epstein files, of course, and I'm posting or something. And no, why would anyone want to see that? No. It would be a waste of time. Nobody wants to search for me. All right. But yeah, so he died, but you're right. People have made a ton of money off of that.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it's unfortunate to have somebody die, but gosh, not a great cultural impact, I have to say.
Was that his original intention, or was his original intention to actually just have a place to celebrities meet their fans?
No, I do think it was someone nefarious, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure. All right, what's number 2?
Number 2 is going to be, I don't know if you have seen this, AI fruit videos are blowing up on the internet right now. The concept
AI
of it,
fruit videos?
Yeah.
I've
You
not
wouldn't
seen
believe it
this.
if you didn't see it, but it's fruits that have all these internal stories. They cheat on each other. It's like blueberry Ina, and it's a blueberry woman.
Okay, first, I never thought I would hear someone talk about AI fruit videos. And then if I had to guess what AI fruit videos were, I would never have guessed what you just said.
Exactly. Yeah, it's insane. I've been mind blown by it because I'm a little out of touch. I'm late 20s, so I'm not really on TikTok, but every now and then I'll just be graced with some of this stuff, and I'll have to figure out what's going on. So it's always like love triangle, dating issues with humanoid fruit.
Would never have thought of that in a million years. And now it's going viral.
Yeah,
All
whoever
these
did is
AI.
making a lot of money, I can imagine,
Dear
off
God.
of making these.
I mean, it's funny. The closest thing I would think about is maybe Veggie Tales. Like, I'm just picturing. Do you know what Veggie Tales is?
Yes, I loved VeggieTales as a kid. The songs, silly songs with Larry, that was
so
good.
I'm thinking, is that what the fruit, like, do they have like eyeballs and And they're
They
animated
are
like
humanoid.
VeggieTales
They
was?
have hands and they can,
Oh, it's
yeah.
straight up. What?
It's dumber than you can imagine because it's just imagine a guy with a suit, just a big strawberry head.
It's so dumb. It's just funny how we create like such breakthrough technology, and then we use it to make AI fruit videos, soap operas. Basically, it's AI fruit soap operas. Is what I'm. This is what we use the technology for. Great. All right. What's number one?
Number one is going to be a Facebook post that went viral. It's now being shared on X, a lot of different websites, where a young man moved to a new community, asked, hey, is there any church groups around here? I'm a young single guy. So he got just eviscerated in the Facebook comments. But whenever it got reposted to X, a lot of people are kind of defending him. I guess, I know you're a Christian, Yaffee. I don't know how you sort of feel on this. Maybe somewhere in the middle is correct. Yeah, you might meet someone, but you don't exactly want to go just for that. So, but that's,
okay. Yeah, it kind of depends. Like, if he is a Christian already and he really wants to find a church to help his faith, but he would also like to meet a nice girl at a church, then I have no problem with it. It's hard for me to be mad. With all the places you can meet women, it's hard for me to be mad that he would want to do it at a church, if that makes sense.
That was my read. I sort of gave him the benefit of the doubt and assumed that, okay, well, maybe he's just a young guy. I mean, especially in today's culture, it's almost hard to find someone unless you're, going to places like a church.
Right.
So, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but, people went either way on this one. So,
I mean, it just depends. Like, if he is really just like a playboy and he's thinking a church is where I can find the good crop of girls or something.
Be a bad
then
place.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. But also, maybe he goes and has bad intentions, but then he gets saved. So it could end up good too. So
now you're extra optimistic. I hadn't even considered that. He goes for the wrong reason and then gets turned around. Yeah, could be.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to be too upset about. Like, are we going to be mad that he's like, hey, I'm single. Where's the biggest strip club or something? Like it's like, yeah, that guy needs to go to church. So maybe I'm not. So weigh in on the text line if anyone has an opinion on this. I could see why something like this would go viral because you'll get a wide range of views on this. But weigh in on the text line if you if you would like that. I mean, maybe, or if you want to talk about humanoid fruit soap operas. This is not showing up on any of my feeds, by the way.
I'm kind of breaking on this one. I'm just now witnessing this a little bit, so I was like, I'll get out ahead of it.
I have to say, the thing that really, AI has ruined a lot of social media. It really has, because now, one, I get a lot of fake trailers. Like, you have movie trailers and you get the fake ones. Or they're like leaks from movie sets and it's obviously fake. Or you get like animal videos or something that are fake. And it's like, AI has ruined so much of that. Like, you just have to sift through a lot of the AI nonsense. But I was not expecting humanoid fruit soap operas. So that's.
I think that's the cultural change. People like it. People kind of like the AI fake stuff. Me and you, I'm not a fan either. I'm with you.
Yeah, and it's funny too. Last week I talked about this a little bit. Everyone thought with AI that you would get videos posted of, say, world leaders doing something, and everyone would think that was real. Like, oh, but it wasn't. But what we saw last week was the opposite, where people were posting real videos of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and everyone was accusing that of being AI. So that's the other thing we get with AI now, where real videos are posted and people don't believe their own eyes. Real videos. So I'm like, we're doing great. We're doing great. So maybe humanoid fruit soap operas aren't bad. All right, thanks, Austin. I appreciate it. We'll end the show with the Yaffee Program Rewind in just a moment. This is the Yaffee Program.
It's the Yaffee Program on WVNN.
We're back here on the Yaffee Program. News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. It's funny. People probably always wonder what we talk about behind the scenes, and sometimes it like bleeds through or something. And what I talk about with the crew behind the scenes of Dale's show is very different than what we talk about off the air during my show. Austin and I are having like deep theological discussions. in my book, What's Up Habakkuk, which you can still get. It's available at Amazon.com, by the way. But that's what Austin and I are talking about behind the scenes. So I don't know if that makes us dorks. I think it makes us cool. Whatever, Austin. But there you go.
I think sadly most people would weigh in with dorks, but
probably. But I thought it was interesting. All right, let's do it. Let's end the show like we usually do. We have the Yaffee program rewind. All right, and this is the time of the show where I remind you, if you missed any of it live, the podcast is up on the website, WVNN.com, or anywhere podcasts are available. Make sure to subscribe, tell your friends, share it on social media, all of that stuff. You know, all that fun stuff. It's much more interesting than fruit people soap operas that Austin was talking about during What's Trending. Anyway, I started the show today talking about the latest in Iran. So President Trump posted on Truth Social and then talked about it later that he is going to pause any type of attack against Iran's energy infrastructure for 5 days because he said there has been progress and making a deal. So we'll see. I'm always skeptical when it comes to Iran in this, but Trump was able to make a deal with Hamas, which I was pretty skeptical of that too. So, you know, I kind of have to give Trump the benefit of the doubt here. Now, on the state of the war, we hear from the propaganda press how bad it is. In fact, I didn't get a chance to play this earlier, so I'm going to play it right now. Democrat Chris Murphy, he is always an example of what the leftist base is trying to sell. And when it comes to the Iran war, he's doing the same thing. So, Austin, go ahead if you can real quick. Play the Chris Murphy cut that I sent you.
I thought that was a really scary appearance by the Treasury Secretary. This administration has totally lost touch with reality. This war is spinning out of control. Prices are spiking for millions of Americans. There's a new war breaking out between Israel and Lebanon. Oil assets of our allies are continuing to be hit in the region. There's no end in sight. The Secretary of Treasury just said we're going to escalate in order to de-escalate. It's like they've never read a history book. That's exactly what our war leaders said in the middle of Vietnam and the 20 years of mismanagement in Afghanistan. We need to end this war. The only way you are going to get prices down here in the United States, the only way that you are going to bring peace to the region is by ending this war. And it may be that the quickest way we can do that is by denying them the funding that they need to perpetuate this war, which is increasingly out of control.
So, out of control. It's just not true. By the way, sometimes, yes, you do have to de-escalate. You have to escalate to de-escalate. Apparently, he hasn't read all of history either. I think dropping the atomic bomb in World War II was an escalation, but that was needed to end the war. Or the surge in Iraq, remember that? That could have been seen as an escalation, but it worked. So this idea that it's so crazy to say you have to escalate sometimes to de-escalate in a war, it's actually true. But I played some cuts of Victor Davis Hanson at the beginning of the show. He's a historian with the Hoover Institute. He was on Fox News talking about the real state of the war right now, and I thought he made a pretty good point. So go ahead, we'll play it again here. Play Victor Davis Hanson, cut 1 for me, Austin.
You know, we don't have people on the ground to tell us what's really happening in Iran except, you know, captive news people like CNN that are there only with the permission of the theocracy. But there's enough evidence to see how things are really going. Europeans would never agree to go anywhere near Iran unless they thought the tide was turning and they think that we're going to win. Otherwise, they would keep still. And the reason that the petro-nations of the Gulf survive is they have their finger in the wind and they're very attuned to the climate. And when you have Al Jazeera praising the United States bombing campaign and saying that it's been underestimated and it's brilliant and effective, you get the feeling that they think not only should the United States finish the job, but it can and will finish the job. And then when you start to see tactical aircraft like Warthogs and Apaches, that means that they're offering almost ground and sea support to hit targets. There's nothing, there's no defense at all when you have that type of aircraft flying at will in Iranian airspace. So you put it all together, and I think it's pretty clear that this rope-a-dope strategy that they have, that we're going to tire before they are, is dependent on just public opinion, the midterms in the United States. And if Trump sees it through, and I think he will, I think they're going to fall pretty soon, in 2, 3, 4 weeks. And I think they know it, and I think the Europeans know it, and I think the Middle East knows it, and their only hope, the Iranians' only hope, is that somebody will call Donald Trump off before the job is finished.
All right, so there you go. We talked about that at the beginning of the show. The podcast is up. We also had the Alabama bullet points earlier. I always do the top 4 stories from around the state. I'll post that on my social media as well, so check that out. We spoke with Todd Stacy, who is with Alabama Public Television's Capitol Journal. The legislature is on spring break this week, but when they get back, they have to work on the budget, of course. But Democrats really trying to hold things up last week, so we had a pretty good discussion on that. Then, yes, I did the Sunday News Show's recap, where I recap all the highlights from the Sunday News talk shows, and including this pretty crazy comment here from Hakeem Jeffries. Go ahead and skip down to cut 4 of Hakeem Jeffries and play that for me, Austin.
I want to ask you before I let you go about something the president just put on Truth Social this morning. He said, now with the death of Iran, the greatest enemy America has is the radical left, highly incompetent Democratic Party. Your response?
Donald Trump should keep his reckless mouth shut before he gets somebody killed.
All right, there you go. So that's also in reference to the Robert Mueller stuff. Look, if you're going to talk about political violence and getting someone killed, who was killed? A Trump supporter, Charlie Kirk. You had 2 embassy workers from Israel killed in Washington, D.C., and then you had Trump almost killed a couple of different times. So it's hard for me to take Hakeem Jeffries seriously on that. Appreciate you listening to the show. Like I said, the podcast is up. I have a great lineup that continues on. The Vince Show. And after that, the Daily Controversy. And as you know, I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. See you then.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.